I'm here with Eugene Simon, who plays Lancel Lannister in Game of Thrones. He's gone from squire to a knight. You think he's a man with ambition?
I think he is a man with ambition. I think if you're a member of that family, it's impossible not to have ambition, really. It's sort of a question of Lancel having ambition and having kind of enough spine to carry it out, really. But yeah, season 2, I think he's trying. He's definitely trying, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I definitely think he's trying in many ways.
If he's succeeding is a very different matter, though.
No, he's not been very well treated in either position, though, has he? Either as a squire or a knight, because he's got, you know, Robert Baratheon sending off for like breastplate stretchers. He's got Cersei and Tyrion using him basically. He does.
I mean, the using him is a rather fortunate for him. But the thing is that I think he is always kind of on the back foot, really. But I think a lot of the characters in Thrones, a lot of the reasons that you kind of get so invested in them is because there's always that kind of attempt to try to get on the front foot, to always try to be up with your superiors. And those are the characters that I personally sort of connected with more closely. That's why Lancel was someone I really liked when I started reading the book. So I'm hoping that when season 4 or 5, in accordance with the books, comes out, that'll be able to be something that I can try and bring across.
And where would you like to see your character growing? Because we haven't actually seen him on episode 4, episode 5 coming up very shortly of season 3. Mm-hmm. Where would you like to see your character going?
Well, I mean, I've read the books, obviously. I know kind of storyline-wise where I'd like them to go. I mean, it's sort of the one thing that I'm really looking forward to doing with the story that I know exists is I based the whole of my performance for the first 2 seasons on what I'd read from the previous books, and the massive trauma that he undergoes, whether you've seen season 2 or not, is something that I thought was sort of tantamount to where he goes to season 3. Which is just a huge change in personality, his ideas, what he prioritises, and his relationship with his family. So I just really want to kind of see, I sort of want to see a boy turn to a man, really. For season 3, Lancel is on kind of hiatus, if you like. He's sort of MIA, if you like, from his endeavours at the siege of Blackwater Bay, and I think he's sort of in his recovery process from that. But I would like to know, I mean, I don't know kind of what Dan and David have planned, you know, they change things all the time, but I'd like to think that they will, you know, bring him back in some form for perhaps season 4 at some point, but we will see.
Well, we look forward to it because he's a great character.
He's a fantastic character. Now, I've been very much looking forward to seeing where they will take his role for the next few seasons. But fingers crossed that it'll be where everyone wants it to go.
You think he'll be totally over his terrible wound that he got at Blackwater as well by then, and the awful pain that was inflicted on him by Cersei as well?
I know, he's heartbroken and he's probably shoulder broken as well from that wound. So I think there's a lot for him to kind of deal with. But that's where maybe religion will pop into play play its role for him a little bit. But that I'm looking forward to.
Now, do you think he's got what it takes to survive in Game of Thrones? Because we've seen many a character fall by the wayside, get the chop, and other many worse things, haven't we?
I think he does, actually. I think the funny thing about Lancel is that he's just in the peripheral of the sort of stage of Game of Thrones enough to not actually warrant death. Which is, and that's a really odd way of describing it, but with George Martin not dying is something of a compliment, I suppose. So I think he does have what it takes to survive longer than most characters, really. But I mean, come the seasons that will be changed by Dan and David and be written by George, I simply have no idea. That's the sort of beauty of the show and of the books, really.
Now, if you did have to get the chop in the show, how would you like to go out?
That's such a good question, because I have so many romantic ideas in my head about what he could be doing. I would like him to, I'd like him ideally to sort of, it's a very simple way of putting it, but to die for the sake of the new character that he turns into, basically, and which I believe is completely kind of contrary to the one he starts off as. He goes from squire, and then he goes to knight, this sort of pompous, he's a prick really, but pompous little prick, but then he will go to something else, and I would like to think that he will die for that, because that's what really hit me when I read the books. So in whatever manner you think, whether it's getting his head chopped off, I don't know, but that'd be fun. Why not? Why not? Have your head on a pike, like Ned.
And what have been your favourite moments of filming so far and that you've seen on the show?
Gosh, you know, I think it's it varies hugely. I loved doing my scenes with Peter in when I had to sort of be grovelling. I really enjoyed that scene as just performance-wise. It was very, very fun. But there's obviously, in terms of your adrenaline rush, the Blackwater Bay just can't be avoided. And I think when we were filming that, you know, alongside having to have all these extras running around, having to do your choreographed fights, it was pouring with rain, and the ambience was just so strong, and even on camera, it was stronger in real life than it was in camera. So I sort of felt that was probably my favourite moment of the whole shoot, really, in terms of setting.
It's obviously quite challenging as well, filming in those circumstances, and also kind of hitting all your marks, learning the choreography for the fight. How did you find that?
Well, the funny thing is that my my weakness was literally just keeping my footing, because it was raining the whole time, and the mud, when you're having that people running around doing, you know, fighting, everything. It's like a sort of rugby match times 10, and so you sort of come out going, right, you've got to look as though you really know what you're doing, but then you sort of slip. And actually for this scene as well, when I was with Ian, I was trying to keep up with Mark, but I kept slipping. So keeping my feet is my problem.
You mentioned Mark and Ian there. What's it been like filming there? And of course, you've also filmed with Lena Heady and Peter Dinklage, you mentioned too. What are all these guys like as co-stars?
Oh, they're phenomenal. I mean, I can't help but whenever I think of filming with Lena, I always think of that one of the first times that we met, which is that I was walking onto set for essentially my nude scene, and I was in my dressing gown, and I met her as I was walking in my dressing gown, and I literally I ended up next to her. Like, I just went, hello. How are you? And I was literally getting ready to take off my clothes. So that was a fun meeting, but she's a charming girl. She really is, and great to work with. And Peter, I mean, what can I say? I mean, all of the above and more. He was just, he's fun, he's charming, he's obviously great to work with. He warrants every bit of credit that he gets. And I don't know if I'll be working with him again according to the books, but either way, it was an honour.
He's a fantastic character, he's got, isn't it?
Wonderful. You know, well, he is, and I hope people think that Lancel is too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they make a kind of great combo. Those scenes they've had together in season 2 are very funny, as well as kind of cringe-worthy as well.
They are very cringe-worthy. Yeah, I mentioned this thing up on one interview I did of sort of servitude versus kind of dominance, basically, and that's kind of one of the fun bits of that scene. And the next scene when you're in the carriage with him, you're talking about wildfire. Now that was all fun to do, definitely.
Now, tell me about a typical day on set. What did it involve on Game of Thrones? If there's such a thing as a typical day?
It's just a typical day on set. It's like a typical day on life. It was. I mean, it would generally. Whenever you kind of go into doing one of those scenes, you can't help but have high expectations, but they're always beaten, whether it's doing a kind of very intimate one-on-one scene or whether it's doing a scene of just absolutely huge magnitude. And a typical day would usually actually involve just in having a really good laugh with cast and crew before you walk on, and everyone's face just sort of goes, oh my gosh, this is stunning. So I think shock and amazement was always what would ensue in every scene, and yeah, that would be it, really. And
you mentioned that nude scene earlier. Obviously, I have to ask you about that. I mean, a little bit awkward.
Yeah, in a word, yeah, it was. No, it was actually, to be honest with you, once you get your kit off, it's fine. I mean, you know, you kind of sort of get used to it. But no, I mean, I kind of, having read the books, obviously, that gives you a lot, that for me gave me a lot more incentive. Some people prefer not to, some people do, but I did, and that kind of gave me a lot of understanding of trying to get the intimacy right. So once it was done, I was just sort of really, really happy that it got incorporated into it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have had to have done it and then it had been pulled, would you?
Well, I wouldn't want to have done it and then no one understands the context. You know, why is he naked? I don't get it. But no, yeah, that was fun to do. That was.
Now, for the people who kind of haven't been on set and would like a bit more idea of what's like behind the scenes on a TV show, how many people have you got milling around or you know involved in the production on set when you're doing something as kind of intimate and awkward as that?
It can range so heavily. I mean, when we were doing, again, Blackwater always comes up. There were about 200 extras when we were trying to do the siege. Scene over the 5-day night shoots, and it was absolutely unbelievable because you're thinking about what you have to do within your character and your fighting scene, but what you don't appreciate is that all these other extras have choreographed fights as well, and I didn't realise that until I actually got to look over the wall at them, and all of them weren't just sort of meeting in the middle, running at each other and sort of going, you go first. You know, they actually had an idea of what they were doing, having been trained. So the level of commitment was incredible, and these stunt guys were just working the whole time, making sure everyone was okay. So I think just amazement again.
And like the scene with Lena as well that we talked about earlier, when you've got that bedroom scene. I mean, how many people have you got? I mean, ideally, I suppose you'd want as few people as possible, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, they say, we've got a closed set, but the thing is, it depends on who you are, obviously, but you sort of go into a mind frame, really, and it's going to happen anyway. So I think at the end, I don't really care that much, if they need to be there, then I have absolutely no problem with it. So, but yes, they always say it's a closed set as it goes.
Now, I know we love Lancel, I know you love playing Lancel, but if you weren't Lancel, which other character would you like to be on the show? Be anyone.
I've said this once, but I always rethink my answers. I'd like to be. There's three that the characters I'm very fond of. I'm fond of Bran. I'm fond of Viserys. I thought he was absolutely great. And but I'm also fond of oh God, help me now. Alfie Allen, who plays
Theon Greyjoy.
Theon. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Theon. I liked Theon's story because I thought it was just a really kind of interesting idea of kind of trying to fit into a family that you're akin to in blood, but not in sort of spirit, because you haven't really been in their presence for any of your adolescence. So I loved that story. That had a very interesting theme to me. But I think it would be a competition between Bran and Theon.
Okay, good choices. Both good storylines, I think.
Yeah, they are very good storylines. I mean, it's obviously both of them have, as is the case with most people in the story, very very tragic in a lot of senses. But they're wonderful.
Now, I read that George R.R. Martin's actually bought a cinema recently in Santa Fe, a little cinema. Yeah.
Wow.
So, would you like to see Game of Thrones the movie?
This is a really interesting question. No, because I don't think you're going to get as much attention to detail, which is what a lot of Game of Thrones is about. If you're in a movie, there's just simply not enough time. And I'm speaking for myself when I go into movies. I don't like movies being too long. If I see a 3.5-hour movie, I come out more sort of fed up that's how much I spent in there. I'd like it to be sort of fairly concise, and so you don't want to lose that with Thrones. You want to keep it to as long-winded as possible so you can enjoy all those moments. So I think keep it to TV, keep it to a series.
I'm liking your thinking, definitely, because we love the care and attention, the effort and everything that goes into the show, and it's so beautifully made. Exactly.
And I think you would lose that attention to detail. As much as Dan and David are fantastic, I think they also have always said that it's made for TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love it there, we do.
Exactly, we do. I'm glad.
Now, what's it meant for you to be part of Game of Thrones?
Well, I think one thing I've always agreed with the rest of the cast is that you are part of an anonymous family. I have probably never met 50% of the people who are here today doing the Wales Comic Con as well. But but when you meet them, you're very familiar with them because you would have seen one another in varying scenes. So I feel very much kind of that I have a lot more people to meet that I'm already very close to without even having known them. So that's one thing on a personal level. On a professional level, you really do feel, I think, at least I do, that you're kind of at the top of the sort of TV game, if you like, and there's a lot of commitment that comes with that, and I've always felt kind of very I've sort of taken it very very seriously as a role, as a production, and as a kind of entity, and also because I know that a lot of people like to enjoy it. So I think a sense of honour, excitement, and fear. Actually, but fear's useful.
Keeps you motivated as well.
It keeps you motivated, and if you're Lancel, fear usually entails in quite a few places, so yeah, it's helpful.
And what would you like to say to the fans of the show who are watching this video?
I'd like to say to you that, I don't think you will be going away, because I'm pretty sure I hope you've been enjoying the last 3 seasons, but as always, stay tuned and you're going to love whatever's coming up. So, tweet us. That's the best way of keeping in contact, and thank you very much.